So we'll go ahead and get started. I want to respect everyone's time. Today's topic is passing the eligibility screening, and I'm going to talk to you specifically from the funder's perspective. All right, so those of you who are new to me, I just want you to know that technology is not my friend. See, there it is. All right, so in today's session, we're going to the red flags that funders look for during eligibility screening. Welcome, everyone. We're just getting started. Today, specifically, we're going to look at life from the funder's perspective when we're talking about eligibility screening and why that's even important. Two reasons why a nonprofit is rejected for grant submissions, and the difference between being eligible and being qualified and why that even matters. And then finally, as I mentioned before, the red flags funders look for during eligibility. But before we get started, for those of you joining for the first time, my name is Amber Wynn. I am a philanthropreneur. I fuse the passion and commitment of philanthropy with proven business practices for long sustainability. And I am excited to be here in partnership with the Latino Coalition. The purpose of these sessions is to both strengthen your skills and knowledge as a nonprofit leader, but also to really just strengthen your nonprofit for long-term sustainability. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to talk to you from the funder's perspective. My goal, my purpose, my reason for living is to support the most amazing people in the world, which would be you, my executive directors, founders, and nonprofit leaders, because you do the work. Most of you guys do it and don't even get paid, which is why I'm here, because I want you to be as stable and supported and loved up on and strong as the communities you serve. You give so much, and having been an executive director, I know what that sacrifice is. And so my purpose is to support you. I am your biggest cheerleader, and my sole purpose is to get you lots and lots of money, because with money comes choices. Like I said, you guys are doing the work. So 30 years in the nonprofit sector. I've been an executive director. I founded my own nonprofit, a board member, a grant writer. My largest grant has been for $3.2 million, but I've had some in between 2.4, 1.3, I've been a funder, given out over 7 million annually for research, and I've worked in every sector: nonprofit, government, academia, and currently I am a nonprofit consultant. So I'm excited to be here with you today. And I start all of my sessions off just letting you know who I am, because sometimes I say things that sound a little counterintuitive, but it comes from a place of knowing. So let's jump in. Like I said, today we are talking about passing the eligibility screening. And a lot of times, my beautiful people, start nonprofits thinking, oh, I'm going to start this nonprofit and I'm going to get these grants. And they think these grants are like free money, but it's not. Grants come with, of course, deliverables and expectations and all of that. It is not free money. And so what happens is we tend to approach things differently. Well, today we're going to talk about the fact that there are always more applicants than there is money. And there's a consequence for that, right? There are always more applicants than there is money. You'll hear funders say it all the time. It's not that you didn't have a great project. It's just that, well, we just didn't have enough money to fund everyone. So that's going to always be the issue. And it wasn't until I got on the other side that I really understood, number one, the angst of that, but then number two, what that actually means. What does it mean when a funder has more applicants than there is money? Well, once I learned that intellectually, you know it, right? At some point, the money's going to run out. But what does that mean in terms of how you submit your grants? What does that mean in terms of your fundability? Once I shifted my mindset to, oh, this isn't about me, this is about the funder, everything shifted in my world, especially as a grant writer. The goal became not to get into the round file. Because here's the thing, they'll tell you this all the time. You can't win the game if you're not on the court. For small, like startup, in particular, Black and Brown led organizations, we already know, the statistics show us that we get less funding than our counterparts. But what they fail to tell you is a lot of that starts at the screening process, right? Because we start off with great hearts and not really, the knowledge about what a nonprofit is, what it's supposed to do, how it's supposed to do. We get eliminated. We get eliminated before there's even time to get funded. And so I said at the top of this session that this is one of my favorite topics because there is so much power in just little bitty things, And once you understand how a funder thinks, it just puts you ahead of your competitors. So I'm going to just give you the straight up answer. What are the things that a funder looks for in terms of screening you out, eligibility? These things right here. They look at your mission statement, your demographic information, your program descriptions, your measurable goals and objectives. Do you have a quantifiable impact? Your organization and program budgets, your financial statements, active 990. Is your organization even, able to be funded? I had this one woman, she's like, I don't understand. I keep applying for these grants and I know that I qualify. Blah, blah. She's like, they don't like me. I think I'm going to go to my council person and I'm going to report them. Da, da, da. And I was like, okay, calm down. First thing that I did was I checked her tax ID number. I went to the IRS website. It's free, right? Guess what? Her 990s had not been filed in 3 consecutive years. So she was not active. So the funder's not going to fund her. But the funder's not going to say, listen, I can't fund you because technically you're not a tax exempt organization. So there are certain things that as a funder, we can and cannot do. One of them is, so technically you're a nonprofit, so we could fund you, but the purpose of the 501c3 tax exempt status is to get that write-off, right? So there's so many things that happen during the screening process that it is ridiculous. But I just wanted you to see just up front, so take a screenshot of this if you can. These are the things that we're going to be talking about today. I have $20 for the first person who in the chat can tell me what is the funder's purpose. Can anybody tell me what the funder's purpose is? What is the funder's purpose in the nonprofit sector? I'm looking in the chat. Anybody? What do you think the purpose is? To make money. Okay, Sean. Who else? And I'm talking about in relations to nonprofits. What is the purpose of a funder? See, most people who come into the nonprofit sector, it's like the funder is Oz, right? And they just give you and give you, what is it that you want? What does your heart desire? Oh, great Oz. And here's the truth. The purpose of a funder is to accomplish their mission, right? They report to the IRS and they say to the IRS, hey, our purpose is to eliminate homelessness. So my purpose, my goal is to meet my funding goal. As a funder, my purpose is not to fund your organization. I'm going to say that again. As a funder, my purpose is not to fund your organization. And I think once people start to understand that, a shift happens. It happened with me, right? I'm like, well, I'm a nonprofit. These funders are supposed to give me grants, right? That's what we think. No, the purpose of a nonprofit funding agency is to meet their funding goals. They look for partners, which are the nonprofits, to help them accomplish their funding goals. The minute that I realized that, I became super successful as a grant writer because it then switched from, we do this. Can you help us do this? Can you, save these poor little babies? If you don't give them money, then the doors are going to close and Lord have mercy. No, it shifted from that, which I never wrote like that, but I'm just saying. It shifted from me, the focus on our organization, to the funder. It shifted to, if their goal was to eliminate homelessness, it shifted to, how can I help this funder reach their funding goals? How can I help them eliminate homelessness? It wasn't about what I was doing. And that whole shift, I'm telling you, just changed everything. And it started with the eligibility screening. So funders, as I said, report to the IRS. So they can't just give out money nilly-willy. It's according to rules and regulations, one of them being, typically you have to be a 501c3. They put it in their guidelines who they can fund. The other thing is that you have to be in good standing with your current authorizing agencies. So if that's the Secretary of State, if that's the General Attorney's Office, like, there are rules that a funder has to abide by. And so understanding that their train of thought is going to put you ahead of your competitors. And so moving forward, we're going to think like a funder and not like a founder. We're going to make it easy for them to say yes to our grants. You're going to showcase how your goals will help the funder meet their goals. You're going to remove all sources of doubt about your viability as a nonprofit. You are going to provide proof of success. Listen, when people start nonprofits, it's just a concept. And so to ask someone to fund a concept is asking a lot. But if you can prove that you are successful, even if you're just starting your organization, if you can say, yes, I just started my nonprofit in 2023, but I've been doing this for 20 years. I can prove my success. That's what a funder's looking for. And you've got to be able to stand out from your competitors. Most importantly, and people don't take this seriously, you need to inspire. Think about this. You are doing a job search. You have 25 candidates. It's the same position. So people are saying, I'm the best person for this job. I'm the best person for this job. I'm the best person for this job. And you're going through resume after resume. Something stands out in that resume that makes you say, I want to interview that person. It's the same for a grant. Something has to stand out that makes them say, I want to fund this organization. And I think people lose sight of that, right? Funders view grantees as a thing to conquer. I hate to say that, but if we're trying to get to, who's going to be the best partner, we already know that I have limited funding. I want to partner with the most qualified organization. I don't want to partner with someone who may or may not, manage my money correctly. I don't have to. There are too many of you out there for me to choose, right? I want to fund with an organization that's most likely going to help me meet my funding goals. And I want to see a return on my investment. This check that I'm giving you is not free money. I need to see a return on my investment, because I have to go back to my board and say, hey, we gave Heather $250,000. Guess what she did with it? This was such a good investment, right? So it's just important that you understand from a funder's perspective what it is that they're trying to do. I have $20 for the person in the chat who can tell me, what is the funder's screening goal? What do you think their purpose is during screening? Anybody? What if I made it $50? Does that change anything? To align with a mission? Okay. That's part of it, Kimberly. Thank you. All right. To make sure you're capable and have the bandwidth to see quantifiable. These are all excellent answers. Guess what the real answer is? The funder's screening goal is to legally eliminate as many applications as possible. Isn't that horrible? It's just horrible. But remember, we have limited funds. So I need to legally get rid of this pile. I have $250,000 to give away. I can't give it away to everybody. So I have to legally find reasons to eliminate my applicants, just like we do during the job search, right? We're going to, oh my gosh, this resume is just riddled with mistakes. That's the no pile. Oh my goodness, there are gaps in the dates. That's the no pile. We do the same thing as funders, right? What is it that we look for? We look for priorities. And are you investment worthy? Are you agile? That's in the budget, right? If you only have restricted dollars, then that means there's a possibility that if something goes wrong, you're going to use my restricted dollars to fill that gap. So you're not agile. You are totally dependent on your restricted money. Are you progressive? Do you have strategic planning as a part of your organization? What about stable? Are you stable? Is there stability in your organization? What about the turnover? Am I going to put money into an organization that you know, their people are just quitting left and right? Is it even a viable nonprofit? Um, do you have internal controls? I am writing you a check for $250,000. Are you going to be zelling people to pay them for their salaries? Don't laugh, because I've had organizations like, what do you mean I've got to pay taxes? I'm like, well, how have you been paying your people payroll? Oh, I Zelle them every month. No internal controls. Listen, doing the very best that they can, making sure that their people getting paid, just not understanding that a nonprofit is a business. It's just a business with a philanthropic purpose, right? There are always more applicants than there is money. And from that space, we've got to think strategically. We got to move from a position of chance just by changing our mindset. You're going to increase the amount of revenue you can generate when you know what the rules are. People said to me, oh my God, you're so expensive as a grant writer. Why do you charge so much? I'm like, because I know the formula. Look at my track record. Are you going to go with someone for $500 and you may or may not get funded? Or are you going to go with someone for $2,500 or $6,500 if it's a government grant? When you see my success rate, it's because I understand the formula. And so you can move from chance to not certainty, but probability. I have a contract with Cal State Fullerton, and I have rock star faculty, and I know that they're probably going to win the grant because they know the formula. A lot of times it's not about really, I hate to say it, but it's so true. It's not really like, are you doing the work? It's, can you make yourself look like you're doing the work? Isn't that horrible? I know. But when you know the formula, then you can get what you need to be successful. Because at the end of the day, if you, any one of you guys, have the money, you're going to do the work. So I just need you to get that money, right? All right. So what are the main reasons grants are rejected? I'll tell you. Number one, the number one reason is that the application didn't pass the eligibility criteria screening. If you can't get on the court, you can't win the game. And so many of us are screened out before they even get to the consideration part, right? The submitter did not follow the guidelines. People start submitting applications, and I'm like, what in all of God's green earth is this? This is nothing remotely close to what we put in the guidelines. I said a 12-point font. Why is this a 10? Why? Why is this a 10? Because the submitter did not follow the guidelines. Get them out of here, right? Legal reasons to eliminate. If I say only use Times Roman or Arial and you come up here with Courier, yeah, out of here. So it's important. And I'm just letting you know, a part of it is because we need to whittle down that pile. You know, if I say, give me 5 keywords and you give me 7, you're out of here. What that says to me as a funder is you don't pay attention. And if you don't pay attention, I don't want you as my grantee because I got too much to do. I need you to do what I ask you to do. Oh, but I'm trying to show you that I have. Don't show me. Give me what I ask you, right? And then the organization just didn't qualify. There's a difference between being eligible and qualifying, and I'm going to explain to you why in a second. And there was just more applicants than there is money. These are the main reasons why grants are rejected. And you see here, it's not because, you know, oh, they just didn't have good programs or they weren't. No, it wasn't any of those things. It's generally because what I'm asking for as a funder, I'm not receiving. Now, at the end of the day, your goal is to hit the yes pile. We have 2 piles. I would say we had a maybe, but generally speaking, because there's more applicants than there is money, there's a yes pile and a no pile. Guess where I want you to be? I want you to be in that yes pile. The yes pile are the applicants that passed the eligibility screening. They followed the guidelines, they're qualified. I believe that there's a sound investment, unique, and they demonstrated impact. The no pile, well, you just don't look the part. And kind of raggedy schmaggedy, y'all, right? You can't prove your impact. You don't use generally accepted accounting practices, meaning your financial statements don't look like most accounting financial statements. In terms of your programs, it's the same old, same old. We're doing tutoring to increase, graduation rates and improve grades. Same old, same old. Give me something new and exciting. There's no leadership. There's no accountability. I can look at your budget. I can look at your budget and let you know if you have leadership, meaning your board. I can 5 minutes. I can tell you if I'm going to fund your organization just by looking at your budget. And I can tell if you are a financial risk. And these are the things that a funder looks for. And we want you to be in the yes pile. Yes, we do. Okay, really important. What is the difference between eligible versus qualified? And why does that even matter? It matters so much. I have amazing nonprofit leaders who are committed to their communities, and they're like, Amber, I got my 501c3. How can I get a grant? And I say, well, you can get $500 all the way up to maybe $2,500. But to be sustainable, you're not quite ready. What are you talking about? I got my 501c3. You got your 501c3, that means that you're eligible. Doesn't mean that you're qualified. Funders are looking for qualified organizations. What does it mean to be eligible? To be eligible means you have your 501c3 tax exempt status, right? It means that you serve my target audience. If I'm looking for a program that strengthens communities or that specifically serves African American women ages 20 to 55, do you serve my audience? If you serve African American girls 10 to 15, you don't serve my audience. So eligible is aligning with my goals, right? Do you serve my geographical area? I only serve South Central Los Angeles. If you serve Colorado, it can be African American women the same age, but not in the same geographical area. Eligible means that you deliver the programs that meet my funding goals. Some people say, well, we do one of them, right? One of them is empowerment. The other six are, job readiness, da, 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 da. I am more likely going to select an organization that focuses on my funding goal than I am going to the person who does one of six. Why? Because you're focused and you're doing specifically what it is that I want to fund. So that's the other thing that I do before I write a grant. What's the likelihood of me getting funded? Because it's a lot, you guys know, it's a lot of time and energy writing those grants. So if I'm like, I don't think they're only giving out, 12 grants. I'm not going to go for this one. They're giving out 55. I'm going to go for that one. But qualified means that you meet the funder's rigorous funding criteria. First of all, if you're not a 501c3, I can't even consider you. Second of all, if you don't serve my target audience, I can't even see you coming, right? If you're not in my geographic, so all of those things are the basic things. Then this is where it's either yes or a no, right? Are you professional? Are you a reputable organization? I am entrusting sometimes taxpayer money, sometimes corporation, profits to someone I don't know. So are you reputable? And how do I know if you're reputable? Because you can provide me with a track record of success. You can say, well, last year I did that. We graduated 25 people. Oh, okay. So you have a track record. So there's a higher likelihood, right, that if I give you this money, I will see outcomes. Financial statements. I have people say all the time, why are they asking me for financial statements? I only brought in like $5,000. It's not so much how much you have in your bank, but how do you manage it? If you can give me a profit and loss statement, then I know that you have internal controls. If you give me some goobly gop that says something, then I can't trust you. I can't track what happened to the dollars. I'm looking to see that if I ask for a financial report, you can provide it to me. in a GAAP form, generally accepted accounting practices form. That's really important. You can't get around that. My little small nonprofits, startups, they're like, I can't afford Waze apps. It's free and it will give you, financial statements, profit loss, all of the stuff, all of the forms. All you have to do is attach it to the bank that you use and it tracks your transactions and it gives the financial statement. Again, it's not about how much money you have in the bank, but do you have internal controls? Do you have an annual budget? Listen to me. As a funder, my purpose, my goal is not to fund your organization. Your nonprofit is a business. It's just a business with a philanthropic purpose. And so if your budget is $250,000 and you're asking me for $250,000, guess what I'm thinking? I'm thinking you don't know how to run your business because you're expecting me to fund your entire organization. So one of the things that I always do is I always tell my clients, never ask unless it's a government grant because they expect you to. If it's a foundation, never ask them for all of your budget. I typically go in with 1/3, maybe 1/2, depending, but never, never, never ask a funder for all of your budget. It says to me that you got issues. A strong governing board. Now, here's the reality. 9 times out of 10, when you start your nonprofits, it's your mother's on the board, your cousins on the board, your roommates on the board. It's because you don't really understand what the board is supposed to do. The IRS has said that the board is responsible for governing your organization. And so strong governing board means it's not going to be, all of the same last names. It's not going to be all Barretts on there. It's not going to be all Barretts because that means it's now a family foundation. That's a whole different thing. No, you're going to have a variety of seasoned individuals. And I'm looking for that as a funder, right? Because if it's family members, if it's baristas and you're not teaching people how to open Starbucks franchises, we've got some issues, right? Is it self-sustaining? For a lot of nonprofit leaders coming into the space, it's like, well, how do you expect me to get self-sustaining if you're not giving me grants? Because a nonprofit is a business. Every nonprofit should have 10 streams of revenue. And as a funder, I'm looking to see how many streams do you have? If all you have going in and out are grants, that's an issue. Self-sustaining is when you have a variety of funding streams, even if it's not bringing in a lot, right? The last 3, do your programs align with my goals? If they don't, I'm not going to fund you. And can you give me some visibility? I'm doing great things in the world and I want people to see it, right? But if you're like, oh, we have 2 followers, I'm like, how much visibility am I going to get out of that, right? So if you have a sexy website, if you're active and engaged, that kind of does make a difference. Because as a funder, I want people to know about the amazing things that I'm doing. And then finally, as I said, innovative. These are the things that a funder looks for in terms of, are you qualified? Are you qualified? Eligible is one thing, but qualified is the next level. I'm going to give you an example. Let's just say I was ready to give up my, single life, trade them in for some, stilettos and turn my stilettos into some little Mary Jane so I can get married and be a wife. Let's just say, this is hypothetical. I have 2 agencies. One comes to me and they say, Amber, oh my goodness, we are going to find you a husband. And for $100, we're going to put you in a room of 1,000 men. You should be able to find your husband there. I'm like, for $100? All right, bet. Then the second agency says, Amber, for $1,000, I will put you in a room with 100 men. These 100 men will be African American. That's my preference. Straight. That is a must. They're looking for a wife. Like, that would be helpful, right? They're not married. Hello. They're wealthy because your girl put in her time and I ain't trying to have no kept men. You got to bring to the table what I'm bringing. They're handsome. I'm a Libra. Please forgive me. I love beautiful things. And they don't want kids. At 54, all of my eggs are hard boiled. And if you want kids, I can't help you. So this is agency 2. What is the likelihood that I'm going to find my husband with agency 2 versus agency 1? Agency 2, I'm going to more than likely find me a husband because the criteria, right? So that's how funders look at nonprofit organizations. Yes, you may serve women, right? But do you serve, um, women going through menopause who live in, Lord Jesus, I don't know how to do it in Africa because my summers that I have here in Los Angeles, Lord. But I'm just saying, they look for, those organizations that are closely aligned with what they do. And that's why it's important that you do your research. I have people who'll be like, oh, well, yeah, it says here that they serve women. Yeah, but they're in New York, honey. You're in Florida. Like, read all the way through. You're wasting your energy because they're not going to just give you money. Remember, you need to be qualified. So that's why it's important that you understand the difference between eligible and qualified. It saves you so much time, it saves you so much energy, and it increases your success rate when you align yourself specifically with the funder. Do we have any questions? I know I can talk. Any questions so far? Anyone? Good? Okay. All right. So funder alignment. Here, what is it that a funder really looks for? Because it's very specific, right? As a funder, I make inferences, right? I look for inconsistencies. I'm looking for omissions. I'm looking for contradictions. I'm going to say that again. I know that it's not right, but it is so real, right? When I have more applicants than I have money, I've got to legally eliminate you. I don't want to be unfair. And because I don't have the opportunity to talk with you, I'm going to take you face value for what you represent your organization in. Now, that's going to seem unfair in a second, but basically here are where I look for the red flags. Funding alignment. I'm looking for your mission statement and your program descriptions. I tell people all the time, your mission statement should be short, concise, to the point, and it should inspire, because that's the first thing that a funder looks for to see if there's, simpatico, right? Your program descriptions. If you're saying, we at Bright Horizons are aspiring to improve the livelihoods of everyone so that they have the opportunity to live a fulfilled life. Like, what did you say? You said nothing. So it's important that your messages are crystallized so that as a funder, because I don't know, I can understand what you're doing. The other thing, I want to partner with an organization that knows what a nonprofit is, knows what it can and cannot or should not do. That's nonprofit mastery, right? Branding, your structure, your website. If you have on your website, everything but your mission statement, if you don't have your physical address, the things that you should have as a nonprofit aren't there, it's telling for me. And trust and believe, in this day and age of easy access, the first thing we do is we Google you. If your dates are like the last time you updated your website was 2014, no bueno. No. Leadership. Your board of directors means something. They may not mean anything to you because you're doing all the work. I know, I get it. But they mean something to the funder because of the role that they're supposed to be, they're supposed to be leading. I'm going to do a session on board members and how to recruit them and all of that stuff, but it makes a difference. Titles make a difference. Listen, if you're the executive director and it's executive director / president, that is telling to me as a funder. You know why? Because the executive director reports to the president. The role of the board is to hire, support, and fire the executive director. So if you are the CEO / president, are you going to fire yourself? You're not. But what that says to me is you don't have nonprofit mastery. A lot of times as nonprofit leaders, we kind of make stuff up as we go along. President / CEO, that is a for-profit term. So this is a legal reason for me to say no to you, because if you're putting, executive director / president, then it says to me, you don't understand how a nonprofit runs, right? And then finally, risk. I'm looking at your budget to see how risky are you as an investment. and your financial statements will tell me that. Let me show you. So this is the budget, the annual budget. As a funder, what I do is every funder looks at your narrative and they compare it to your budget. You've heard this, right? This is so unfair, but listen, this is how we do it. So this is the Sunshine Club. The Sunshine Club says that they're progressive, right? They're a 501c3 in Los Angeles, utilizing technology to engage over 150 tech-savvy youth, ages 5 to 17, by exposing them to non-traditional STEM careers. Our staff serve as mentors and coaches to provide youth from disadvantaged communities a safe place to turn to for guidance and direction. The Sunshine Club's experiential learning model introduces youth to unknown treasures and resources in their community they never knew existed during monthly field trips to businesses and community-based organizations. On the surface, that sounds exciting, doesn't it? STEM, untraditional, careers, but then we look at this budget. And when I'm talking about screening out an organization, remember, I am looking for inconsistencies, omissions, and contradictions. Watch me find them. All right, so here's the budget. First things first, Los Angeles, CEO, 32,000, baby, how? I mean, unless you're living in a house with 6 other people, this is not going to work. But the first thing you said is that you are progressive. How are you progressive when your CEO is making $32,000? Inconsistent. Your administrative assistant is making $11,000. Inconsistent. Right. Here's the thing. You also said that you are serving over 150 tech-savvy youth. Remember, I told you one of the things that we look at is, will there be high turnover? What's the likelihood of me giving you 250, or you're asking for $148,000? What's the likelihood of burnout in this organization? If 2 people are serving 150 youth ages 5 to 17, listen to this. There are stage developments. We all know that. So kids who are 5 to 7 act a certain way, need certain programming, then 9 to 11, and then 12 to 13, all the way up to 17. You mean to tell me that these 2 people are going to deliver a program to this wide of a range, to these many people, and be successful? I'm going to say no. That's my inference. I inferred that there are not enough staff. And even if these people were able to do that, they are going to burn out. So should I invest my money in this organization? No. The other thing is staff serve as mentors and coaches. 2 people? 2 people. Now, if you look under the program, it says, oh, we give stipends, $15,000. To whom? How many people? I don't know. So I have to infer, or I have to guess. And if I have to do that, I'm going to put you in the no pile. Why? Because I have other budgets that are clear. They may have volunteers that are serving as staff and mentors. So for stipends, you should put parentheses, how many people, so that I say, oh, okay, so it's really, 10 people serving as the mentors and coaches. And then, the CEO, maybe they'll put 80,000 at 33%, so that I understand what's really going on with this budget. But because all I have is what you've written, I'm going by what you have. And guess what? You have $34,000 for app development. That is more than your CEO's salary. You think I'm not making an inference there? I am. Someone has said to me, well, isn't it true that funders want to fund program? Yes, but I also need leadership. I need to know that my money is going to be managed properly. So I'm looking at your budget and I'm saying, nah, I don't know about that. And here's just a little secret. If your budget, I don't care where you are, Colorado, Wyoming, Los Angeles, if you are running a nonprofit, your budget needs to always be at least $150,000 if it's an organization. Anything under that, it's not a viable business. You know what I mean? Oh, so when people say, oh, my budget is $24,000. I said, for what? Not for your organization, maybe for a program, right? But not for an organization. If your organization budget is anything under $150,000, I don't care what state that you live in, you're going to get a side eye from a funder. So I don't know what you need to do, but if your budget is anything under 150, bring it up. In Los Angeles, I say 250 because the cost of living is so high. So do you see here from this budget how, from the funder's perspective, I could easily eliminate this organization based off of what they gave me? I didn't have to make anything up. I just looked at their narrative and I looked at their budget and I said, something is off. I could even go deeper. So you're saying that monthly field trips to businesses and community-based organizations, well, where is the bus or the van? I don't see that anywhere on the, so there's inconsistencies. Remember when I told you I can look at a budget and tell if there's leadership? So I'm looking at this budget and I don't see directors and officers insurance. There's no way in the world you would get Amber Wynn or someone, a seasoned board member, to sit on a board that does not have directors and officers insurance. The board is responsible. That's their fiduciary responsibility. They are responsible for the ethical running of your organization. That now means that if anyone gets sued, it's going to be the board. So to protect the personal assets of your board members, you have directors and officers insurance. I don't see it here. So I'm going to say, guess what? I don't think they have a seasoned board. Let me find someone who does. So when we talk about screening, it's really about the funder trying to find the best organization, right? So that's the budget. Any questions about that? Is it helpful to have subcategories on the budget? So materials broken out by office supplies. Yes, absolutely, Heather. And this was just, a cute little example. But you also have budget narratives, and you can explain what's going on in your budget. That's really important, especially when you have word count limits. But when you're talking about positions and you're talking about stipends, just in parentheses, just put the number, because we can do the math. If you have, for example, let's just say they had facilitators or tutors, just put in parentheses how many, 10, and then we can say, okay, right? You just don't want your funder to have to guess. All of the guessing, when I have to guess, you just automatically go to the no pile, because there's too many other people who are providing me with the information. You know what I mean? So I'm sharing this and I'm being honest because I need people to know, right? We want you to get past the eligibility screening. Is your mission saying too much? Listen, your mission should only be 2-3 sentences at the most. Ideally, 1 or 2. Girls Inc.'s mission is to inspire all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. Memorable, inspiring, short. When you start saying, the mission of Bright Horizons is to assist everyone in under-resourced communities to live their best lives through da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, some missions say too much. They include the vision, they include the program description, it includes the agency history, and it doesn't even include the impact. What is your mission? The mission of Bright Horizons is to, what is your mission? Since 2003, our mission has been to provide quality programming. So what you've just put is your agency history. Since 2003, didn't ask you for that. Our mission has been able to provide training. That's the program description, right? Your mission should state what would your world look like if you accomplished your goal? My world would look like long-term, consistent outside funding for nonprofit leaders. That's because that's my mission. My mission, I have it on the screen, but I got to read it. Nonprofit consulting for consistent long-term funding, impact, and sustainability. Boom, 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 right? So Just think about it. Don't put everything but the kitchen sink in your mission, right? There it is. To train nonprofit leaders how to generate consistent outside funding for long-term impact and sustainability. In and out. Titles matter. I spoke with you a little bit about that earlier, right? If you're the president and CEO, then that means that you are employed by a for-profit company, because in the nonprofit sector, the president hires and fires the CEO or executive director. Likewise, people be using stuff like, oh, chairman of the board, oh, that's my chair, or we're trustees. Those have meanings. When you are the chairman of the board, that means that you are responsible for a trust, right? And you oversee the president and the CEO. Whereas in the nonprofit sector, it's a president and board members, right? The trustees are over the trust. So when you're using interchangeably, oh yeah, my chair, I hear it all the time. Oh, my chair, my vice chair. And I'm just like, terminology matters. I'm handing you over thousands of dollars, hundreds of $1,000s, and you don't have the titles right. Can I trust that if you don't know what the titles are for a nonprofit, can I trust that you know how to deliver the programs? Can I trust that you are operating, right, professionally and according to IRS rules? I don't know that I can. And here's the bigger problem. I don't have to, because there are more applicants than there is money. So for me, I go through the process of eliminating red flags, eliminating, get you closer and closer and closer to that yes. And it may sound silly, but it's these small things, right? Here's how a nonprofit organization structure goes. The decision-making body is your board. So they're going to ask you for your board roster. They're looking at the names. They're looking at the affiliations, right? So remember, if everybody is a Barrett, I'm like, if for your affiliation you have Amber Wynn Barista, but the organization's mission is STEM, how is this barista contributing to your leadership? That's not to say that you can't, but I'm skimming, y'all. I'm not going to sit there and say, well, if she's a barista, she actually has to do a lot of calculation, which has to do with math. So that is kind of STEM. Like, I'm not going to do all that. I'm just going to say barista, STEM, I don't know. I'm not sure. Now, your paid staff, the executive director, program director, et cetera, they are responsible for implementing, the vision of the board, right? So they're going to ask you for key personnel. And if you're giving me descriptions and resumes that are light, right, especially in the beginning, you're like, hey, we've been around for 2 years, and, our executive director has, 6 months of executive director experience. It's like, so I am making inferences. I am looking for the best organization that's going to help me achieve my goals. So these are some of the things that I'm looking for. Any questions so far? None? Okay. And when I talk about titles, a lot of times as nonprofits, we can't pay our people their value and their worth. So we'll give them a title. Oh, I'm going to make her a program director. Oh, I'm going to make them, the manager of such and such. If you have a director, you need to have managers for that person to direct. If you have managers, then you need to have coordinators or specialists. So when people say, oh, she's a volunteer manager, who is she supervising? Otherwise, she should be a coordinator or a specialist. Titles make a difference. I'm looking at your org chart. I'm looking at all of the things that shows me, do you understand the nonprofit sector? Do you understand how to run your business? Because if you don't know that you can't have 5 directors with nobody, being directed, I don't know if you can manage my money correctly. All of this stuff is what your funder is doing when they're looking at your budgets and they ask you for an org chart and they ask you for your board roster. We are making inferences so that we can legally screen you out. I'm sorry. Take a look at this. If your car was having muffler issues, would you go to Jerry's or would you go to Precision Auto Body? I'm just saying. I always have someone who's quite contrary to me, and they're like, well, if Jerry's been in the community and Jerry's been doing the work, I'm going to go to Jerry's. I was like, if Jerry's been doing precision mufflers, shouldn't he know how to spell precision? Shouldn't he know how to spell muffler? I'm sorry. It's on the box every time you open up the but you don't know how to spell it. So that is the same way that a funder approaches nonprofits. Aren't you a nonprofit? Don't you know what you're doing? So the fact that you have a .com, which stands for company, says to me, perhaps maybe you don't understand that you should be a .org, which is a nonprofit organization. Is it small? Indeed it is. However, as a funder, I'm looking for reasons to eliminate you. If all things considered, you guys both have amazing programs, what am I looking for now? Things that I can use to say, well, maybe this one is a little bit suspect. Her Gmail says, what is it, Sean? Hot Mama 56 at
Oh,
Gmail,
it does not say that.
gmail.com.
It
I'm
says hard-boiled eggs 61.
61 at gmail.com. And so do I consider that professional? And guess what? Doesn't matter if you're doing the work or not. All I have is what you have put in front of me. So these things really do make a difference. Demographic information, we talked a little bit about that. Why do funders ask you who's your target population? Because I am only authorized to fund, my funding goals. So I don't fund everyone. If your age range is 5 to 55, I only fund 25 to 55. I don't want to fund you because you may use my money to fund kiddos, and I don't want that. So if someone is just funding, I had one client, she was doing domestic violence prevention and she served everyone and she couldn't get a grant. The minute I made her, and I made her, guys, she was like, no, but the need is there. It's great. It's my community. Pick a range. The minute that she picked 11 through 14. So she started to do prevention instead of intervention. She got 3 grants because funders were clear about who her audience was and clear about it aligned with who their target audience was. So if you're serving everyone, pick a small range. I'm telling you, it's going to make a difference. How many will your organization serve and how often? This is how, as a funder, I'm able to determine if I got a return on my investment. If you're submitting grants and you're not answering this question, how many will you serve? Or if you say between 20 and 100, well, which one is it? Am I going to give you $250,000 to serve 20 people? Or am I going to give you $250,000 to serve 100? So don't put ranges. Pick one, either go high or go low, because I will screen you out for that, right? How much am I funding? Am I getting $250 worth of, and then also the geographic community. I have people say, we serve everyone. I don't serve everyone. And if you're serving everyone and I'm looking at your budget and you have 2 people in your staff, how are you serving? How are you nationwide? How? There's inconsistencies. Serve your community well, create some impact. And what do we mean by impact, right? What change will your organization produce? I'm looking for these terms. We will increase or decrease something. We will reduce or eliminate. We will cure. That's what a funder is looking for. If you don't have those in your proposal, I can't measure you. When people say, oh yeah, we're going to serve everybody. What are your goals and objectives? We're going to increase, stability. First of all, what does stability mean? I need to know by how much, right? Make the goal measurable. We're going to reduce pregnancy by 20%. So you have a baseline. Right now, maybe 30% of the girls in our community are coming up pregnant. We're going to reduce that by 20%, right? And be sure that you under promise and over deliver. Don't over promise and under deliver. All right. Here's the other thing when we talk about eligibility. Funders don't award grants to fund events. We want to see a change. If you have events, that is prime for marketing dollars, sponsors, but for grant dollars and some major donors, we're looking for outcomes. And you don't really get outcomes. You get that feel good for an event, right? So for example, an event is like a food giveaway. I have people do that all the time. Oh, we have food giveaways, we have toy drives, we give away clothes, we do backpacks, we have a sports clinic. I say funders grants, that's not going to cover that. We're like, why? You know, our kids get backpacks, they don't have them, they don't have clothes, they don't got that, but it doesn't shift the behavior. I mean, they're grateful, the need is there. Maybe you can do some programming, like some workshops on something and then have it culminate into this event. But funders don't want to fund events, right? They want programs, an after school program. If you're tutoring, you're working with them for weeks so we can see a change because there's a connection, right? Robotics programs, they're getting more skills. They're being exposed to career opportunities. They're being exposed to potential professionals, job training and preparation, coding programs, mentoring programs. 90% of your grants are going to fund a project or a program, but events are, they're really good for marketing dollars. Let me see. Okay, I thought there was a question. So events typically are one time, right? And they don't address the root cause. So the giving the backpack away doesn't address the root cause. It provides a temporary solution. But if the mothers can't afford to purchase school supplies, the issue is not the backpack. The issue is her employability. The issue is her ability to get a job, right? Events that occur less than 6 times typically don't offer enough engagement to create a long-term change. I, as a funder, I want long-term change, right? It may improve a circumstance immediately, but does it resolve the cause of the issue? So these events, again, are great for marketing dollars. They're great for culminating events, but standalone, you'll be screened out. I will screen you out if you're saying, oh, we do toy drives and then we do backpacks, and I will screen you out. Programs tend to create lasting change. Programs are a collection of projects, and then they complement each other. Like we'll have a webinar on this and a webinar on that. One is on attitude, one is on dress, one is on, and they all lead up to create this program that then shifts knowledge, behavior, attitude, skills, right? And it's done over time so where you can get to know the person and that person can have influence on you and then they can help you change. So it's just important to understand that when we're talking about screening, a funder of grants is really looking for an event, a project. I mean, it's not looking for an event. They're looking for a project, a program, 6 to 8 weeks, months, preferably, right? If you're putting all of these events up there, it's going to be challenging. All right. Here's what I want you to understand also. Funders are human. And not all funders are nice people. But funders are human. Reviewers are human. And what happens is during the submission process, we get tired, right? We've given you the guidelines. We told you what to do, how to do it. And if you want to get placed in the no file really quickly, here are some of the things that funders say that they hate, right? They hate it when an applicant fails to research the prospective funder and understand their goals. I say this to people all the time. Don't just send out mass proposals. Don't just send out to whom it may concern. That is just the quickest way to turn off a funder. You need to research. It takes time. What's the name of the funder, the program officer? Make it specific, right? Provide all of the requested information and documentation. We know what we need. That's why we're telling you. So if you don't have it and you don't send it, it's just going to tick your funder off. If you don't have it, then it means you don't qualify. So don't submit. But if I say, I need your board roster and you don't submit it, no pile, right? Meet all of the deadlines for the application, right? I've had people try and submit things, an hour later. Oh, it's only 10 minutes, but it's 10 minutes that you didn't follow. Everybody else followed the rules. You don't get an advantage, right? Look for a way to support a mutually beneficial relationship. Typically, as nonprofit organizations, it's a give me, give me, give me. And funders want a mutual beneficial relationship. Is there an opportunity for my company to volunteer, right? Is there an opportunity for us to partner, not just me giving you money all the time? Funders have said they would love for applicants to strike the right balance with follow-up on the status of the request. Now, I'm going to tell you, having been a funder, that this is irritating. When a person calls me every day and say, hey, what's the status of my application? It's the same as when you called me yesterday. We haven't finished, right? What I suggest is when you call the first time, hey, Miss Wynn, this is this is Sean following up. Just wanted to know, do you have an anticipated date when you'll make the announcement? We anticipate the end of July. Is it okay if I follow up with you then? Absolutely. End of July. Hey, Miss Wynn, it's Sean. Just circling back. Again, any date when you will release and I will say, we're going to let you know by July 31st. Bet. But not like every day, every week. I have gone through, pulled out that person's application and put it in the no file. Do you know why? Because how you're showing up as an applicant is how you're going to be as a grantee. If you're difficult as an applicant, I don't need your difficulty during the funding period. I have done that. I found a reason. Don't get it twisted. I scoured that application. I'm like, here we go. You're in the no pile now. Because I have 25 grants that I'm managing. I don't need you to always be difficult. I don't need difficult. And then consider the preferred communication. Some funders prefer emails, others prefer telephone calls. Read, they will tell you, right? For those of you who don't have your profile on Charity Navigator, GuideStar, I think it's changed to, I don't know the name of it now, but it's changed, right? You should consider completing your profile, because when a funder does due diligence, the first place they're going to go to is GuideStar. You upload your 990s. GuideStar is going to give you a seal. You're going to be silver, gold, platinum, whatever. But update that information. Some people just go up and just leave it, and it's not useful. So update it if you're going to use it. This one is a big one. Follow prospective funders' processes. Don't challenge it. I can't tell you how many people have said, well, this is stupid. We should be able to submit, da, 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 da. It would be easier if it may be easier. But aren't you asking me for money? So you're asking me for money and then you're challenging my process. It just doesn't put you in a good light, right? It just doesn't. So don't challenge it. This is another big one. Separate the thank you from the ask. Quite often, nonprofits will say, hey, Amber, thank you so much for your donation this year. Because of you, we were able to da 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 da, and we would love for you to continue funding us. We need $50,000. No, separate your thank you from the ask, because now it feels disingenuous, right? This one is super important for me. Provide what the funder asks for, or, if that's it, don't give me more. If the question is 5 keywords, don't give me 7. if I ask you for the board roster, don't give me your newsletters. Don't give me more than what I've asked for. Some people are like, well, I want them to see everything. I didn't ask for it. Just give me specifically what it is that I ask for. And then this one, when we talk about the best representation of your organization, I've had people who, oh, my son made the logo. And I'm like, I can tell. And it's not the best representation of your organization. Love Johnny, but go to Fiverr and have somebody to create you a professional looking logo because it represents your organization. Same thing about your website. Yes, Wix is free, but does it represent you as a business? Does it say, I don't have any money to create, my public facing image? These things say things, right? Do not ask for an extension of time. I have people say to me all the time, oh, I wasn't able to finish. Can I please? No, no, because other people have done the work and I need to be fair. You cannot get an extension of time because you should have, planned your time better. Relationship build, right? Look for ways to connect the interest of the funder with the needs of the organization. Don't try to just shove your stuff down our throat. Like, where is there a good fit? It may not be right now. It may be later, right? And then this one. Edit your application. Sometimes people start a week before. I don't know why they think they can do that. Listen, I'm a seasoned grant writer. I never start a grant a week before, 2 weeks before. There's too many things that can go wrong, including bad grammar, misspelled words. It just shows that you're not professional. You're up against the clock, so you don't have the opportunity to look at things with a fresh eye and catch all those mistakes. What those mistakes says to me as a funder is that you're not professional. This represents you. Bad grammar, misspelled word. It's who you are. It's who you presented to me. So when I am screening, I'm looking at all of these things, guys. I'm looking at, that this is your outward facing representation of you. So I get it. I've been an executive director. I give more grace than most people, but most people have not been on your side. And funders are very snobby because they can be, because there are more applicants than there are money, than there is money. So now I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask your questions, but I just wanted to let you know that you will be receiving an email about 15 minutes after this for an evaluation. I always want to provide you with information that is useful and helpful. So be sure to give me your feedback. And I also send weekly a newsletter with information, support, freebies, and things of that nature. So if you're interested, you can always opt in for that. But now it's time for you to ask me any questions that you have about eligibility screening, or honestly, Sean will tell you anything that's on your mind. Anyone? Thank you, Heather. No questions? We're all good? You're going to pass that eligibility screening. You're going to be in that yes pile, right? Anyone else have .com for their URL or their email address? Just want you to know, if you do, that Google has free emails and URLs. You can get them for free through the Google Workspace. So that's good, up to like 30. Yeah. Okay. You own them. You own them, Kimberly? Both? Yes, yes, yes. I think, Sean, that was your question last time, right? If they know you for .com, how do you make that transition? The tech person can, redirect it. Yeah. No questions?
No, I think, Amber, I just have a comment. I am so happy that there's so many other people here.
I know.
I love being the center of attention sometimes. However, this is if this is y'all's first time, I just really encourage that we all continue to follow Amber's weekly trainings. They've just been, I've been with her since the beginning. So I'm, as an executive director, I appreciate this so much. So thank you, Amber.
Mhm. Shakari, I am going to present on the budget. The budget is the most important financial statement in a nonprofit. And once you understand what a budget is, like a budget is not how much you have in your bank account. A budget is not how much you raised last year. A budget is how much does it cost to operate your organization? And so I'm going to walk you through building out an accurate budget, a funder ready budget. So yeah, that's definitely on the horizon. Any other topics that you guys would like covered? And if you don't think of it right now, if you fill out the evaluation, just list it because I want to be sure to give you what you need. That's it. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me. I hope to see you next Thursday and the Thursday after that and the Thursday after that, because as I said before, my purpose for being here is to serve you, is to provide you with the knowledge that's going to help you guys get funded, consistent outside funding. I want you guys to get market rate salaries so that you can take care of your families and you don't have to work a job and then come home and then work your nonprofit. I just want you guys to be successful because our communities need us. Our world needs us right now. Things are so messed up. And as nonprofits, we hold the world together. We hold the world together. So, however I can support you, that's what I'm here for. So, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, guys.